In the meantime, President-elect Trump says he plans to use executive orders to impose tariffs on three of our country's biggest trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China. More than $1.3 trillion worth of goods came from those three countries last year. The U.S. conducts trade with Mexico more than any other country, importing $475 billion worth of goods. That was in 2023. Canada is our second largest trading partner, with U.S. imports at more than $418 billion. Then China comes in third at about $427. NewsNation's Robert Sherman joins us live from Palm Beach, Florida. Robert, what more do we know when it comes to specifics about Trump's tariff plans?
Yeah, this T word, tariff, is something that we've heard on the campaign trail for months on end, and something that he has said he wants to make an economic cornerstone when it comes to his plan for America's future here. And specifically, he was referring to the porousness of the U.S.-Mexico border and Canada as well, the influx of immigration and drugs coming across those borders, threatening that if those borders are not secured, he'd be prepared to move forward with a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. This is what he said on Truth Social, quote, "Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price." He also made similar threats to the Chinese, threatening added 10% tariffs unless they stem the flow of illegal drugs into the U.S. And the Chinese have responded. This is from the embassy saying, quote, "China believes that China-U.S. economic and trade cooperation is mutually beneficial in nature. No one will win a trade war or a tariff war." Now, exactly how set in stone all of this is, put bluntly, Nichole, not at all. As we've seen historically with Mr. Trump, throwing out the ideas of specific tariffs as a negotiating tool in order to get to the final point that he wants to. The consummate example being restructuring the North Atlantic Free Trade Agreement with USMCA during his last term, in which there were threats about tariffs being added on there. Not necessarily every tariff that was put into the stratosphere ever ended up coming into practice in any of these situations here. But it is clear that there's a negotiating tactic taking place here. You've even heard from Mexico's president today saying that they view it in the same light as well. So a lot more to come on this from now until January, but this is an integral part of his economic plan that he has been talking about for months. Nichole.
Right, so it's part of a bigger plan, integral part of it. How does the nomination of Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary potentially play into all of this?
Well, you think about this one particular position here, Nichole. We really saw the president-elect poring over this decision largely for this reason. He wanted someone who ideologically saw the value of tariffs that he does and thinks the same way about tariffs that he does in this case. In the end, he ended up opting for Scott Bessent to be Secretary of the Treasury, who has publicly said that he is in support of tariffs. But the perspective on Wall Street and from a lot of investors is that Scott Bessent is potentially more tapered in his ideological use of tariffs and more gradual in his strategy there, possibly a counterbalance between the two here. So, I mean, from what we've seen is that there's been a positive reaction on Wall Street to that move, but tariffs have played a big role in determining who his pick would be for the Secretary of Treasury position. Nichole.
All right, Robert Sherman live for us there in Florida. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.